So, have you ever really thought about who's keeping an eye on the government's wallet? I mean, we're talking about trillions of rupees. Your money, my money. Well, in India, that job belongs to a super important watchdog, the Comptroller and Auditor General, or as you probably know it, the CAG. Now, especially if you're gearing up for the UPSC, you already know this is a huge topic. But honestly, for anyone who pays taxes, understanding the CAG is absolutely crucial. So let's pull back the curtain and really get into what this powerful office is all about. Okay, here's our game plan. We'll start with the big problem. How do you even keep track of public money? Then we'll introduce the guardian of that money, the CAG, and see why it's a constitutional pillar. After that, we'll look at the shield that keeps it independent. And finally, we'll tie it all together to see why the CAG matters so much. So, Section 1, the problem with public money, and the big question is, how do we ensure accountability? Look, let's start with the basic, fundamental challenge here. Every single year, the government manages just a staggering amount of public money. I mean, it's our money, right? It goes into roads, schools, defense, you name it. But here's the thing. Once that money is out the door, how do we, the people, make sure it's actually being spent the right way and not just, wasted? That really is the multi-trillion rupee question. Okay, so here's how it's supposed to work. Step 1, we elect our representatives. Pretty simple. Step 2, those representatives in Parliament approve the government's budget. Basically, they give the green light to spend money. And Step 3, the government actually spends those funds, drawing them from what's basically the nation's main bank account, the Consolidated Fund of India. It all seems perfectly logical and orderly, doesn't it? Well, this is where things can get a little messy, because once that money is officially out there, a whole lot can go wrong. You've got the big one, of course, corruption. Plain and simple theft, but it's not always that dramatic. Sometimes it's just sheer inefficiency or wastefulness, or maybe worst of all, ineffectiveness, where the money gets spent, the project is completed, but it doesn't actually do anything. All of these are huge risks to our public funds. All right, Section 2, the guardian of the public purse, the constitutional solution. So, with all these risks, what's the solution? How does the system protect itself? This is where our hero, our protagonist, enters the story. See, the brilliant minds who framed our Constitution, they knew this would be an issue. They anticipated it, so they built a solution right into the very fabric of our government. A powerful watchdog designed to do one thing: hold the government accountable for every single rupee it spends. And this entire system is built on one core idea: financial accountability. It's a simple but powerful principle. The government, that's the executive branch, is answerable to Parliament, the legislature, for how it handles money. Think about it. Parliament gives the government the money, so the government has to report back to Parliament on how it was spent. It's the ultimate check and balance. It's what stops any government from just getting a blank check to do whatever it wants. So how does this actually work in the real world? This is where the CAG comes in. The CAG is the body that makes all this talk about accountability real. They're the ones who go in, audit all the government's accounts, and then produce these incredibly detailed, fact-based reports. And here's the crucial part. Those reports go straight to Parliament. This gives every member of Parliament, especially the opposition, the hard evidence, the factual ammunition they need to stand up and question the government. Seriously, without the CAG's reports, Parliament would be completely in the dark. Accountability would just be an empty word. Okay, moving on to Section 3, a constitutional pillar. So, who exactly is this guardian? It's really important to get this. The CAG isn't just another government department. Not at all. It's a fundamental pillar of our democracy, an office created by the Constitution itself. And its power comes straight from the top, from the supreme law of the land. We're talking about Article 148 of the Constitution of India. This single article is what establishes the CAG and gives it its authority. It puts the CAG right up there with other massive constitutional bodies that, like the Supreme Court and the Election Commission. That's the level of importance we're talking about. So the full title, for the record, is the Comptroller and Auditor General of India. And this one person is the head of the entire Indian Audit and Accounts Department. Just take a second to think about the sheer scale of that job. They are responsible for auditing the books of not just the central government, but also every single state government in the country. It's a massive, massive undertaking. And look, you don't have to take my word for how critical this office is. The architect of our Constitution, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, himself said that the CAG is, and I quote, the most important officer under the Constitution of India. He knew that without a truly independent auditor, the whole idea of financial accountability would just fall apart, and our democracy would be weaker for it. Which brings us to our next section, the shield of independence. Because think about it. For an auditor to be any good, especially when they're digging into the accounts of the most powerful people in the country, they have to be totally independent, fearless, free from any kind of political pressure. So the question is, how do you guarantee that? Well, the Constitution gives the CAG a very powerful shield. And this shield is made of 4 key things. First, security of tenure. The CAG has a fixed term, 6 years or until they're 65. This means a government can't just fire them if they release an embarrassing report. Second, the removal process is incredibly difficult. It's the same process used for a Supreme Court judge, which makes it almost impossible for a government to just get rid of a CAG they don't like. Third is financial autonomy. We'll talk more about that in a sec. And fourth, and this is a masterstroke, they're barred from taking any other government job after they retire. This is huge. It means they can't be tempted by the promise of a future post, so they can stay completely impartial. You see how these all work together? It's a brilliant system.
Okay, let's just double click on that financial autonomy for a second because it's so important. The salary and all the expenses of the CAG's office are charged upon the Consolidated Fund of India. Now, that might sound like technical jargon, but what it means is this. Their budget is not voted on by Parliament. This is so clever. It stops any government from trying to bully the CAG by threatening to slash their funding. It guarantees their independence on a very practical day-to-day level.
So, let's bring this all home. Section 5. Why the CAG matters. When you put all the pieces together, why is this one office so incredibly central to the health of our democracy? Simply put, it's because the CAG is the very cornerstone of public accountability. The impact is just immense. The CAG upholds the Constitution and the laws of the land when it comes to government spending. It ensures that the executive branch is truly accountable to the legislature. It acts as that final guardian of the public purse. And by doing all of that, it strengthens the very foundation of our entire democratic system of governance. It's that fundamental. But that leaves us with a really important question for the future, right? The world is changing fast. We've got digital economies, super complex public-private partnerships, and all sorts of new ways that government spends money. So how does this ultimate auditor, an institution designed decades ago, adapt to these new challenges? How does it keep watch in the 21st century? That's really the next big question for public accountability in India. Definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.